No way, Jose.
The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We must all do more to recognize and look for the early warning signals that deeply troubled young people send.
Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. This is where we go through the stories of the day, some new, some old. Just kind of like your old morning dump. Let me know how I'm sounding, how I'm looking. But while I wait for you guys to give me an old audio check, I guess we'll go ahead and get into paying the bills real quick. I do remind you guys that today's episode was brought to you by Nadeau Shave Co. If you're tired of that razor burn, irritation, and ingrown hairs caused by those deep penetrating multi-big cartridges, then this is the way to go. I mean, if you look at my face, you can tell I actually just literally shaved with it just before we started. All baby smooth, feels great. You can shave just like your grandpa used to. The standard issue includes one traditional safety razor, as seen here, and a box of 100 stainless steel razor blades. $75 to shave for the whole year. Now, if that doesn't cut it for you, which, let's be real, for most people that will, I've barely put a dent into mine. I shave my whole face maybe about once a month or so, and then edge up, throughout the months. But so to give you an idea of how long it'll last you, I barely put a dent in mine. I've had it over a year. But if you do shave regularly every single day, it's probably not going to cut it. So in that case, you may want to consider the Quarter Shave Club. That'll put you about 25 cents per replacement blade. He's also got 3-in-1 body, hair, and face soap and shave soaps as well. Go check those out. Those smell good, feel good. Great stuff. It's a COVID mandate refusing company. This company was born out of refusing the mandate. Use code Jose for 10% off your entire order. Support a company that supports your ideals and supports me as well. Hell yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into chat. Let me know. Here we go. Get Rich here. Says, I can't wait for all the underpaid street shooters to come in and take away a bunch of jobs so most things can be cheaper. I don't know. As I've said before, I kind of actually probably lean towards it, but I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I don't have a strong opinion on it because it's like I don't really feel like it really makes a difference either way, for my opinion. I'm not going to be able to make a difference in this discussion, nor do I really know enough about it. It's just not really my wheelhouse. But I do kind of tend to lean towards I like things to be cheaper. But it does seem like this H1B, I keep wanting to call it H1B1, even though I think that's like literally a virus. It looks like this H1B thing is just kind of a scam to get lower wage workers over here to take lower wage jobs. Because that is the thing I've been seeing, is it's sold typically as this like thing that's supposed to be like, oh, we're looking for the next Elon, next Tesla or something. Like we're looking for, technological geniuses out there. And it's like, but a lot of these jobs are like fucking 7-Eleven or wherever. Like these are like, a lot of these are low wage jobs. So it's not what they're selling it at. Like, oh, it's only because we need best and bright. It's like, no, you need someone that's from a third world country that is clamoring for an easy job. Is what, and you need some sort of government program to get them on over here, is what it sounds like to me. I mean, I don't know. Now, there's definitely the argument that maybe that works out in the better. I mean, I guess it depends on what exactly we're talking about, because it will make things cheaper and that reduce costs. So that doesn't mean nothing. I mean, everyone say, oh, lower wages, but you're like, yeah, but did it lower costs? And so it's like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to calculate which is better. So I don't know. All right, let's get into some stories. It's kind of funny. I've been noticing recently between some, especially like Dave's. I'm not saying Dave's paying attention to the show or anything, but it seems like right when I have a lot of these things saved, these end up being covered by like one of some big shows, like my buddy like Dave or something like that. And the one that we're gonna go over today, I haven't watched the most recent Part of the Problem, but I think that judging by the thumbnail on it, I believe that what we're about to watch right now is basically what the last one was about. So this will be my first impression of it with you guys. It says Colin Rugg. This is from Colin Rugg. Justin, health expert, calls on the Biden administration to get immediate FDA authorization for H5N1 vaccines and get 5 million doses to the American people as fast as possible. This sounds familiar. Comments were made by former commissioner of the Baltimore City Health Department, Leanna Wen. This broad, which I've heard I've seen lots of interesting photos, which I don't know how I feel about it, about that this chick is like some sort of a crisis actor. I've seen different photos of it. Pretty convincing. No idea if it's true, if I'm just being a rube that's been fooled, but just thought that was a fun little anecdote to throw out there. Anyways, there actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. See, H5N1. And what were we talking about? Just H1B. See, they already sound alike. I don't even know what the fuck the immigration thing was called now. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research on it. They could get this authorized and also get the vaccine out. All right, let me play that real quick. Let me check on you guys. Hey, no one's giving me a thumbs up. Someone give me a thumbs up. Let me know I sound good. I would assume someone would say something by now. I got J Pro Plumbing saying, morning fags. Good morning, 1 a.m. Where the fuck are you from? All right. Well, I'm sorry it's so late. Where you're at? Nah, she's spooky for real. Yeah, no, I've heard that. All right, let's play this clip. See what she has to say. See how spooky this is. Does this really remind us of COVID or not? Because I don't know. Just judging by looking at this cursory view right now, it just sounds like some farm abroad trying to get vaccines approved. Now, does that mean they're trying to put it in all of our veins? I mean, sure, they would if they could, but I don't know if it's to the same degree as before. Let's hear if we hear any more of that language in here.
There are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them, so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is, this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach, because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available, so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Dr. Wen, is bird flu in humans super dangerous?
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu, that the mortality rate is 52%. 52%.
52%. Sorry, I'm eating food if you can't tell. That sounds like absolute horseshit. 52%. I am not buying bird flu. I don't know enough about bird flu. Maybe you guys do. Sound off in the chat. Let me know, does that sound fucking ridiculous to me? Because that sounds insane. 52% mortality rate. That's like Ebola, some like Ebola level type shit. But all right, let's keep playing this video.
However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the US have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
All right. Well, I mean, on this one, I mean, I don't know if there's more to this clip, if there's more, suspect stuff. Like I said, I haven't watched Dave's episode, so maybe there's other clips. I haven't watched this whole interview. But judging by this so far, I'm not overly concerned. It does sound like they're trying to make a dash to try to get as many things approved as possible while it's still Trump, or while it's still Biden in there. And I guess that makes sense. And obviously that's not ideal, but I don't know. I'm not seeing anything that's overly getting me worried about anything in the future. I don't think this means that this is something they're going to try to force through like before. I mean, sure. I guess if somehow they're able to snag some fear from the populace of the people, the majority of the people, the sheeple or whatever, sure, maybe they'll run with it, but I'm not feeling that right now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I am not too concerned about it. I mean, here's a second. Oh, here's a fun little aside here from Jeremy Slate. Says, who is Dr. Leanna Wen, the COVID expert that has popped up? She has all the makings of a deep state actor. She's like the Forrest Gump of all other medical industry, connected to so many events. Thread. This looks like the same exact. Yeah, this looks like the same clip. So, to her LinkedIn shows she was at the WHO in 2006. So here you go, June 2006 to August 2006. Let me check the chat. What do you guys have to say real quick? Bird flu about as real as COVID, keck. Yeah. I guess audio's fine. Thanks for that, guys. Like COVID, it's all bullshit. Yes, for sure. Leanna Wen from Short Nephilim says the Batwoman is absolutely lying about bird flu death. Many people aren't even tested for it when they have it. And she's restricting her sample to severe cases rather than all cases. Yes, that makes sense. What she's saying is bird flu is another virus they've been doing gain of function work with. Ooh, did I miss that? Is that the big thing? Was that the key word? Gain of function? Am I missing that? Because that would have been made more sense why there were people freaked out about it. Because I didn't catch that in that little talk there. So I know people were freaking out about this. It looked like there was a recent, one of the Dave episodes had something to do with this. I didn't catch anything in there. So maybe there's more. I don't know. But maybe I missed the gain of function, because that would be concerning for sure. Let's keep looking through this thread, because I'm kind of interested about... Okay, so this is, her for 3 months. 3 for 4 years after that, 2009 to 2013. She served as a medical consultant to the Chinese government. So there you go. I mean... she, which obviously keep in mind, this outbreak happened in China in some sort of like dual lab between, I believe, us and China and maybe other countries. I can't recall. So that's worth noting down in your head. Also from her LinkedIn account, it's a treasure trove if you read all 35 positions she's had. Oops. Crap. Here we go. China Medical Board consultant from September 2009 to July 2013. She obtained grant funding and led landscape studies, so she was a funding person, collaborated with public health agencies, gave TED Talks. That was her basic job description. In 2013, she was on site on the Boston bombing. Mind you, she didn't work at Boston General. She was on staff George Washington University Hospital at the time, which I don't know if that's significant, because George Washington University was somewhere else, and because Boston General would assume would be closer. I'm unsure. I'm not sure if George Washington University is a hospital that's even in Boston. So, this is her this is what I was alluding to earlier, that she's been, people have said she might be some sort of crisis actor before, or deep state actor of some sort, but here you go. Here's her at the Boston.
Leanna Wen, she's an emergency room physician who was working at Massachusetts General Hospital the day of the terror attack. She also works at Brigham and Women's Hospital. So you were at Massachusetts General Monday. What happened?
Oh, it was a horrific day. We had no idea what was coming. It was 3 o'clock and we heard that there were 2 explosions, but we didn't know where. We had no idea how many people were coming to us.
How many people came?
It seemed like dozens, and it was. It was probably nearly 3 dozen patients in 2 hours or so.
And was the hospital ready for it? I've heard from Dr. Walls from the other Brigham and Women's Hospital that because of all the drills the hospitals here have been running since 9/11, you were unbelievably prepared.
Technically and medically, we were ready. We had done drills. We knew what to do with each individual.
Which there's a couple notes to be had there. Anyone who's followed along in the parapolitical world for a while knows the Boston bombing is one that's typically among parapolitical heads is sometimes framed as almost akin to like old schmandy schmuck. In the sense of the thesis is by many people that it didn't even really actually happen and that it was some sort of fake event. And then that kind of, ties into how she's talking about how they did drills, exercises, and how prepared they are. A lot of people think that this was some sort of, training exercise of some sort that was then later made to look like it was real. So it is, that kind of ties into it that she said that. But either way, she was there. Whatever. All right. 5. Funny enough, she's had a best-selling book just the next year. She had a best-selling book just the next year. So the following year after the Boston bombing, when doctors don't listen, how to avoid misdiagnoses and unnecessary tests. So that went out then. 6. And a TED Talk the same year as well. And then 2015, she popped up as the health commissioner of Baltimore. Then in 2018, she popped up as a president of Planned Parenthood. So this is the path this lady has gone on. And then 9, in the heart of the pandemic, she popped up with another book already written and ready to go, Lifelines, A Doctor's Journey in the Fight for Public Health. And in 2022, she hit the board of Urgen Pharma, to the board of directors. So she's also a member of the Brookings Institute. She's been a fellow of the Brookings on 2 separate occasions, in the beginning of her career and again now. Spent the last 10 years of her life building a PR agency. Oh, never mind. That's that's what he said about himself. This is Jeremy saying, I spent the last 10 years of my life building a PR agency that only books podcasts. I know what a PR campaign looks like. This woman's entire campaign is or career is a coordinated PR campaign. Someone created her. The question is who and why. Whoever it is has budget. And I kind of tend to agree with them. If you look at all the different stuff, the roles she's filled, the books, it does feel like it is she's part of a PR campaign. So I don't know, interesting, especially coming from Jeremy being legit a PR guy. But all right, let's pop back in the chat, see what you guys think. When she's not saying. You said what up? I was watching the marathon when it happened. So was the live feed taped? I don't know. I don't even remember. What does the live marathon even look like? I know just I haven't really gone too deep on a Boston Marathon before. I just know that's what a lot of people in the community tend to believe, to think it was some sort of event of some sort, that they were fake actors. It was one of those. So Voluntary Planet says Demon Incarnate. She has a lot of skeletons in her closet. Perhaps. I am unsure. All right, let's go ahead and get into I wanted to read a article. Usually we save the articles with longer reading towards later. I'm going to go ahead and knock this out now because this is kind of the main crux of the episode that I did want to get into, because I feel like this probably puts like a good bookend on the Luigi thing until maybe some more information comes out, if any more information comes out. But we had kind of alluded to before how this may end up playing out for domestic policy going forward, I guess, because it does have a lot of parallels to stuff I've covered when it comes to, like, say, the Patriot movement and such. Obviously, that has more of a right-wing bend. This has more of a left-wing bend. But kind of the same concept, the idea of like, okay, now we need to tamp down the domestic security state because we have X issue, and the X issue being Luigi Mangione. So I think it's worthwhile. Obviously, this shows a little bit more, a little more libertarian, whatever. So obviously this is going to possibly affect our rights or how the surveillance state, forms going forward. So yeah, this is from Ken Klippenstein. It says, if you're a social media user who's expressed anything other than condemnation for the murder of United Healthcare CEO, counterterrorism authorities might consider you an extremist, per NYPD Intel report. And so this is, read the NYPD's Mangione report the media won't publish. Post Luigi, the extremist threat is you. All right. Checking the chat real quick before we get started on that. All right, here we go. From Robbers of Brat, runners already occasionally shit themselves in these marathons. Can you imagine desperately holding in turns and then 2 bombs go off? Yes, that is something to think about for sure, Robin. All right. Back to the piece. All right. Okay, read the report. If you're a social media user who's expressed anything other than condemnation for the murder of UHC CEO Brian Thompson, counterterrorism authorities might consider you an extremist. That's according to yet another document the media refuses to publish in full. In the holiday spirit of generosity, we've included a copy below. Days after the unaliving, the NYPD circulated an intelligence report focusing not just on alleged unaliver Luigi Mangione, but even extraordinary people expressing sympathy for him online. Or ordinary people, I don't know why I said extraordinary. Warning of a wide range of extremists that may view Mangione as a martyr, the report's title singles out disdain for corporate greed. The report, produced by the NYPD's Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau on December 9th, was blasted out to law enforcement and counterterror partners across the country. It was also leaked to select major media outlets, which refused to permit the public to read the document. Though these outlets were happy to quote selectively from it, the media's quotes and paraphrases tend to stress the document's focus on Mangione, but not its focus on his many sympathizers. That's the problem with selective disclosure. The selections often leave out important facts. By withholding documents and unilaterally deciding which portions merit public disclosure, the media is playing God. Here's a copy of the document so you can decide for yourself what to think. All right, here's the document. No, this is, I'm not going to read it from the document itself because it's kind of hard to read, honestly, but he has it transcribed here. It says, titled, Writings of Alleged Perpetrator of UHC CEO Shooting Reveal Grievances Against Health Insurance Company, Disdain for Corporate Greed, the intelligence report reads. Based on a review of the handwritten claim of responsibility and social media presence of Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the UHC CEO shooting, the NYPD Intelligence and Counterterrorism Bureau assesses the alleged perpetrator was likely driven to violence on the basis of grievances against what he perceives as a parasitic health insurance company and industry as a whole, as well as broader objections to corporate greed and a concern for modern society. He appeared to view the targeted killing of the company's highest-ranking representative as a symbolic takedown and a direct challenge to its alleged corruption and power games, asserting in his note he is the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Mangione may have found inspiration in Ted Kaczynski, the violent anti-technology extremist known as a Unabomber, echoing his note and reflecting in his targeting a similar mindset of the need for unilateral action to bring attention to abusive corporate actions. Based on observed initial online reactions to the shootings, including celebrations of the killing of a health insurance executive and encouraging of targeting leaders across industries, there is a risk that a wide range of extremists may view Mangione as a martyr and example to follow. All right, let's. So this is the intelligence report from the NYPD. Just to back up a little bit. And this is supposedly based, it even says right here, based on a review of the handwritten claim of responsibility and social media presence. So this is all just being surmised based off that one note that we covered a while back that didn't have a ton in it. It did kind of seem to vaguely allude to, like, these guys suck, essentially but it wasn't overly explicit. So it's based off that and his social media. So this is what they have surmised so far, which only reason I'm saying that is because they brought up the Ted Kaczynski point, which literally was just one book that he's covered in a book club from forever ago. He wrote a book review on it and said it had some good ideas. That's about it. It really was pretty tame. So to extrapolate from that all this, it feels, I don't know, just feels artificial, feels like a stretch or intentional, like, kind of place, which a lot of people have even made the case that, like, it seemed like this was almost like this guy's past was borderline constructed to the extent of, like, it's weird. It almost feels like this was, like, intended to be there, as if this was a thing meant to be looked at later. Like, it was weird, the retreat he was at in the first place, and so the place where he had the book review, or where they did the book review, it was this weird, like, almost like young rich people hangout spot in Hawaii, was it Hawaii, I believe, or something like that, for surfers. But they were also doing, it felt very odd, like something bizarre. The point being, so it almost seems like a kind of like a Hinckley type thing, and like this guy's jet setting, doing weird stuff around the world, almost certain things placed into his to create like a, what's the word I'm looking for? A footprint, a historical or digital or whatever footprint of him out there. So it made, Ted Kaczynski, because he fucking covered it once. I don't know, it just feels bizarre. I mean, because it seems a weird thing to make a big to do about. Anyways, and it just seems, this whole paragraph already just seems to be, they're taking a lot of liberties from just what, unless they have things we don't know, but from the little bits, and then we've done quite a bit of digging into his, social media presence and this and that, a few weeks ago. I don't know, this seems a bit of a stretch. So anyways, within the 3-page handwritten claim of responsibility in his person, Mangione wrote, frankly, this parasite simply had it coming. Presumably referring to the UHC CEO and/or similar executives. He lamented that U.S. has the most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet ranks number 42 in life expectancy, noting that the profits of major corporations continue to rise while our life expectancy does not. He declared that these mafiosa have gone too powerful and continue to abuse our country for immense profit. He stated that while many have illuminated this corruption and greed decades ago, the issues persist. In a statement signifying that he likely views himself as a hero of sorts, who has finally decided to act upon such injustice, he noted, evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. So, I don't know. I guess what I'm meaning with that first paragraph is obviously they're referring to the thing. He did kind of claim that he did this. I'm just saying the way in which they're extrapolating about him, it just seems over the top. It seemed they're taking some liberties. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe it's mostly just a Ted Kaczynski line that was kind of like, come on. Like, it seemed like it got thrown in there just to kind of fit the mold of what they're trying to have him be. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. It just seems, from my digging into him, it just seems like quite a bit of, and from what information is out there, it just seems to be quite a bit of extrapolating. You would think also these people would be curious about the note, because it just seems like still his motive is still, to me, while he did say all these things in his note, it still seems very unclear. He wasn't a UHC employee. Like, he didn't have a UHC what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't a UHC policy holder. He fucking was well-to-do. So the idea that, like, he had any sort of actual issues with it, there was some rumors about some family member, but I still struggle to buy that, because he comes from a, like, generational wealth. So the idea that you would have a family member or a friend of the family or something that would be going through dire straits medically, and and it'd be the health insurance fault, and then the family not coming to help, find it to be unbelievable. So I don't know. Anyways, I guess let's get back into it. I'm just saying, I don't know. I find this bizarre. I find this all of this odd so far. But the idea that angry, it just seems to be like, it just seems perfectly like, oh, we already have all of this perfect little, the cutout archetype little narrative ready to go. Is what it feels like, is what I'm saying. But I mean, to some extent, it's kind of fair. It just seems that they took a lot of liberties, pushed it with the whole Ted part. But let's keep going. The idea that angry social media posts amount to the beginnings of a violent insurgency against corporate executives is nonsense. Security experts have said as much, albeit gingerly. Private security intelligence firm Dragonfly assessed in a recent report that we strongly doubt that further similar attacks are imminent. Here's what Dragonfly, whose clients include the large corporations nervous about copycat attacks, concluded. We assess that violent attacks on business leaders globally will almost certainly remain extremely rare in coming years. While left and right-wing groups have praised the unaliving, almost all anti-corporate activists seem intent on non-violent forms of protest, such as staging demonstrations or verbally confronting executives. If you're wondering why this sounds so different from the hysteria that plays on the media, intelligence reports like the NYPD one we published above are a big part of the reason why. Not only do these reports stoke fear and inflate threats, but the furtive way in which they're circulated shields them from public scrutiny. The deal the media makes with their law enforcement sources not to publish documents in full results in big, splashy headlines and pulls quotes focusing on the most sensational passages but devoid of any context. The victims of these distorted narratives aren't just normal people or ordinary people, but corporations as well, many of which have enjoyed special or privileged access, just like the media, to these government intelligence reports. The NYPD's Intelligence Bureau is just one node in a web of around 70 state-level fusion centers surging these kind of threat reports to companies. Presumably, the companies just think they're being responsible by signing up for the reports. In reality, they're being subtly indoctrinated into the national security state's ways of seeing things. When this apparatus of fusion centers emerged in the wake of 9/11, the warnings pertained to Al-Qaeda. But as the global war on terror draws down, the supposed bad guy is increasingly the American people on both the far right and far left, from MAGA to anti-corporate extremists online. All right, cool piece. It is interesting how it does, I guess, essentially the crux here is the NYPD's Intelligence Bureau put out this report, and I guess we, the people, didn't really get much of these in the much information about it in the media because we only got bits and pieces because they only released clips of little bits of it, I guess, to media. He was able to get the full one, which I guess they gave out to a lot of the companies and stuff, which does make reports about how there is a concern about there being a growing domestic terror threat, essentially. And, you know, this is a notification they're putting out essentially to the, you know, the corpos. And from there, that's, you know, they're, you know, it says right here, the companies think they're being responsible signing up for the reports. So they get these reports from the NYPD Intelligence Bureau. And obviously the point being is that they're being sensational. They're saying that how things are so much worse. So essentially what this is doing is indoctrinating the business class into the government class's way of thinking when it comes to security. So it's kind of this wagging the dog type thing. So it'll get them begging for whatever the next thing is. So I don't know. This is kind of how this works. Found that kind of interesting. Let's check in the chat with you guys. All right. What's up, Tards? What's up, homos? What's up, Doctor? What's up, Robin? Boo-boo. All right. Smells like Patsy to me. Perhaps. Exploited. Contrived. Yes. That was a good word I was looking for. A lot of this seems contrived. That was the word I was looking for. Because it's, I mean, like, it's stuff that's, like, kind of, like, sure, but you're kind of going pretty far with it. Contrived is a good word for that, what I was looking for. I said day one, this guy is a willing patsy and people got triggered. They can suck my dick. The media is lying about shit as usual. It kind of feels that way. I'll give it to you. Doc Dory says, I wonder if the modern FBI even knows the CIA created Ted. Probably not. I'm glad someone recognized him from a photo that doesn't even look like him, and he had the extra backpack, manifesto, and gun on him. Yes. Like, even the photo, even if you do say it looks like him, the idea that you would be able to use that photo to identify someone, you know, states away is ridiculous. Like, I never would have identified Luigi Mangione based on that photo. Like, I might be like, if I had that photo in hand, look, and I'm going to be like, looks kind of like, but not enough to the extent to where I'd call the authorities, because I'm not certain enough to fucking screw over this dude's day because he looks kind of like somebody, and I'm not that kind of fucking narc to where I'm like, I guess, that concerned about it. And who really is, especially a fucking worker at a McDonald's. That sounds ridiculous to me. He's Lee Harvey for white liberal women and homos. Ted Kaczynski is my kind of patsy, for sure. Austin 2245 going to be flooded by Jeets, for sure. Ted was a real man. His bomb went boom and made a gun. He made a gun by hand, didn't print it. All right. I don't know. I definitely. I mean, while I do, I found Ted to have some interesting writings, and joke around about him being right and stuff. And I think there were a lot of things about being right. In the end, I do think he was wrong about a lot of his ideas about using violence to get what he wants, things of that like. All right, guys. Well, now we've gone through the main story that I want to cover with y'all, but now I want to kind of go through. We kind of covered. We took yesterday because what was it? I believe it's Sunday, actually, he died. But, Jimmy Carter died at 100 recently, I believe just the other day, Sunday. Yesterday, I played like a few-minute video from Scott Horton about kind of his time in foreign policy, and let's be real, that probably was a little bit more of a scathing view of him. So I figured I'd go through a few different ones to kind of give a little bit more of a nuanced or favorable view of him. I got right from the start here what kind of actually made me I saw one of our followers in the wild, one of the already dead heads, or not already, well, this isn't already dead, this is Morning Dump, one of the dumpers. I don't know what the fuck we're calling y'all, but one of the people who shows up for these tags me and things, the Rage Child. He said, "Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. He was purposely selected to fuck everything by handlers who he thought were trying to help him because he was a good, honest man, and he thought those around him were as well. I'll defend him because he was used by evil people he thought were trying to help." Now, I have no idea if that's legit or not, but that's kind of what, I'd also seen other tweets from larger accounts that kind of had similar sentiments. So I figured we'd put a little bit of a light on that, since, I love the Rage Child. He's one of the followers of the show. He's a supporter. He's a homie. So I figured, just to see out his side a little bit, we'll do that a little bit. Let's play. Let's start off with this Michael Tracy video. His tweet says, "Jimmy Carter's rejection of post-presidential corporate gigs was very much related to his international activities, particularly in the Middle East. If he had to maintain standing among business groups, unlikely he could have said and done things like this."
I think more than any other episode or incident or situation on Earth, this is the most directly affecting adversely America in not bringing peace to Israel and justice and peace to the Palestinians. Yes.
You obviously were very successful in bringing peace with Israel and Egypt. Can any deal be done that doesn't involve sitting across a table with Hamas?
I've met several times with Hamas leadership, and I think they are willing to accept Israel to exist peacefully within the 67 borders or some modification of those borders. But the first step has to be to bring Hamas and Fatah together so they can have another honest election. That is a major premise, and I think the 67 borders between the two with some modifications will lead to a two-state solution. Netanyahu now, I believe, has decided unequivocally to move to a one-state solution, which every one of his predecessors in the prime ministership have condemned as a disaster for Israel. And I think Israel is now moving toward a disaster for itself, and insisting that all the way from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea has to be Israeli controlled.
Now, can you imagine a president actually talking like that today? If anything, that would be such a breath of fresh air, and that is not what we're getting. So, hats off to Jimmy Carter for being able to talk like this. After the fact, I don't know how he was talking in office. Here is another one from Jake Shields. It says, "Jimmy Carter discusses human rights violations done by Israel and how they are protected by political forces."
Americans don't want to know, and many Israelis don't want to know what is going on inside Palestine. It's a terrible human rights persecution that far transcends what any outsider would imagine. And there are powerful political forces in America that prevents any objective analysis of the problem in the Holy Land. I think it's accurate to say that not a single member of Congress with whom I'm familiar would possibly speak out and call for Israel to withdraw to their legal boundaries or to publicize the plight of the Palestinians. And that is headed on to by the very effective work of the American-Israeli group called AIPAC.
All right, well, it looks like him dropping some more truth bombs. Here is from CJ Kilmer to give a more, a holistic view on him. CJ Kilmer is the host of the Dangerous History and Archetypical podcasts. Good follow. Highly recommend it. His whole thing is history, so good guy to listen to on this. Jimmy Carter's legacy is very much a mixed bag from a dangerous history perspective. He was actually one of the less bad post-World War II presidents, all things considered, but that's a hell of a curve to be graded on. His biggest problem was letting establishment, deep state, cold warriors like Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Trilateral Commission mostly run his foreign policy. On the economic front, he put Paul Volcker in charge of the Federal Reserve and let him do what was necessary to fight the high inflation of the 70s, though the fruits of that shock therapy wouldn't be borne out until after Carter was out of office. Reagan wisely kept Volcker in charge of running the Fed and fighting inflation during his first term, then unwisely replaced Volcker with Alan Greenspan later on. Though he seemingly went along with the derangement of his party in recent decades, if you actually go back and look at what he was doing as POTUS from 1977 to 1981, by today's standards, it was mostly very conservative by today's standards. Despite 1980s Republicans' characterizations of Carter as the epitome of a far-left liberal. It sounds like we'd be probably in a much better spot if we had someone governing like Carter in today's day and age. Here is Anya Parampil, which I see a lot of good Middle East takes from her. I believe she's a bit of a lefty. So she says, Jimmy Carter first opened my eyes on Palestine. He's a rare figure in U.S. history who used his post-presidency to atone for sins committed in the White House rather than continue to sell his soul. Rest in peace. So a big ups, I guess, to that guy here. Now here's one more little one for you guys, and this is one I found on the last minute that I thought was kind of interesting in relation to Jimmy Carter. I guess he was kind of big into the God, I accidentally just showed you all my friggin' messages. My bad. But he was I guess kind of looked into the alien stuff. He's another one of those like anecdotes that always get brought up and related to like alien type shit. So here's one says, this is a guy from Risky saying the satanic CIA is controlled and manipulated by literal demons. You cannot change my mind. And he's sharing a tweet from this guy named Joshua Claiborne who says, I'm always surprised this Jimmy Carter anecdote gets overlooked. And this is a question. It says, one of the promises you made in 1976 was that if you were elected, you would look into the reports from Roswell and see if there had been any cover-ups. Did you look into that? Obviously, the question being proposed to Jimmy Carter. And then Jimmy Carter answers, well, in a way, I became more aware of what our intelligence services were doing. There was only one instance that I'll talk about now. We had a plane go down in the Central African Republic. A twin-engine plane, small plane, and we couldn't find it. And so we oriented satellites that were going around the Earth every 90 minutes to fly over that spot where we thought it might be and take photographs. We couldn't find it. So the director of the CIA came and told me that he had contacted a woman in California that claimed to have supernatural capabilities. And she went in a trance, and she wrote down latitudes and longitudes, and we sent our satellite over that latitude and longitude, and there was the plane. So that's remote viewing, obviously. So that's interesting. This is a whole thread. I guess there's other. They expand on it. They're kind of making the case that this is literal demons doing it. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I am a little bit more of I tend to doubt the CIA whenever it comes to remote viewing stuff. Now I know a lot of people like to claim that it's real or whatever. I'm open to the idea of remote viewing being real, but I'm sorry when you have remote viewing is being done in a way in which it's literally the information is filtered through the actual Central Intelligence Agency. I very much doubt what's going on there. Because while the whole remote viewing aspect could be completely legit, sure, why not? It's still being, and then the remote viewer then goes, oh yeah, we saw X, Y, and Z. They tell CIA. CIA tells us. So it's like literally your informational go-between here is the CIA. So it doesn't even matter whether remote viewing is real or not. The idea is that we don't trust the CIA. So let's say this Jimmy Carter example, CIA could have been completely aware or in the know of what the fuck ever happened here, and they could have just cooked the books to be like, oh look our woo-woo bitch, nanu. Now she found your plane, and they could have been them from the beginning, and this could have been a whole fucking op just so that so now the other intelligence agencies think, holy shit, these guys have some spooky shit. And now they can find anything, and now it gives this inflated view to the world of what the CIA is or knows and is able to find out, stuff like that. So it gives them this like godlike view to others. So and it also gives them this ability to be able to fabricate intelligence to an incredible degree. Because where it can go, sources say, and you're like, okay, but what sources? My fucking remote viewer that I fucking, tells me stuff, and then I says stuff, and there's literally only like me and him that can say otherwise. Okay, well, this sounds like a situation rife for lying. I don't know, call me crazy. But either way, I just thought there was a funny little anecdote that I guess, he did look into the aliens, and I guess they got him into the CIA, convinced him of their woo-woo with remote viewing. Whether that's real or not, I don't know. All right, let's check into the chat with you guys. Yo, session attempt. They all say that. Clint said it too. I don't know what you're referring to. Igor Sarsky, what's up? Yo. I need to get you to come back on at some point, talk more about smiley face stuff. We'll have to do that again sometime. That was my guest for the smiley face killer episode. So go check those out. Also, to remind you guys, Thursday I have on Chicken Broth is his name. And he's a guy who's been it's kind of a somewhat newer YouTube video. He's been putting out nicely produced stuff on YouTube, getting some crazy numbers. So doing pretty good. But he's kind of covering. He kind of covered a lot of the 09A, 764. Joshua Sutter. Was it the Temple of Blood or whatever I think is what they're called. So he was kind of covered. So essentially, satanic neo-Nazi Fed stuff. So I'll have him on Thursday. We're going to talk about all things satanic neo-Nazi Feds. It should be a fun time. So just throwing that out there since I kind of like connected to what we were talking about there. Short Nephilim said maybe she could remotely view the Epstein and Diddy list for us, right? Right? The list that probably the CIA literally has, and they could hand the remote viewer and go, "Hey, tell us where this is. This is where it is," and then they find it. All right, let's follow up on a few little things. Probably going to do this a little bit shorter today. This is from yesterday. This is one that I wanted to go a little bit deeper into. It's from Whitney Webb. We were talking about Elon Musk and pontificating on him yesterday. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Should we trust him? I don't know. I mean, he could be, but my only point where I'm seeding doubt here is I think people should be aware. This guy is a sketchy dude. He has connections to war profiteers, technocrats, all the like. He is the makings of the future, technocratic deep state, essentially. So between him and his buddy Peter Thiel, it is like you got to keep an eye on these guys. You can't just let these guys run roughshod because it's kind of like you're begging for that future. But here's Whitney Webb saying, people have asked me about my views on Elon Musk and his connections to the Epstein network. My views are spelled out in my book and also a more recent article focusing in part on Musk, but mainly on Howard Lutnick, who is Epstein's longtime next-door neighbor and incoming Commerce Secretary. I will post the relevant excerpt below and a link to the article itself, and you can make your own judgments on the significance of its content. Notably, Musk's SpaceX was allegedly infiltrated by Lutnick's former next-door neighbor, intelligence asset, pedophile, and sexual blackmailer Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein reportedly introduced a member of his entourage to Musk's brother Kimball, then on the board of SpaceX. That young woman, who had previously dated Epstein and lived at the 301st 66th Street East apartment complex, now known to have housed women Epstein trafficked, then dated Kimball Musk from 2011 to 2012. So just to clear that up, just to clear what we're saying here, Kimball Musk is the brother of Elon Musk, and this guy essentially dated one of Epstein's sex kittens, essentially, is what you could call him, or whatever. Essentially, he's one of Elon, or one of Epstein's little fucking intel whores, is what he fucking was dating. Sure, maybe that was somehow maybe that was completely innocent. Maybe that was an innocent, maybe she was one of the few girls that Epstein dated that was like a legit thing, and there's nothing else weird going on. But sure, maybe. But seems like a big maybe to me. But it seems like to me we already have Elon's literal brother dating someone who dated Epstein. So, which sounds like essentially a girlfriend being attached to you to be able to provide intel. But anyways, as a consequence, the relationship with Kimball brought Epstein into contact with the Musk family and its businesses. This allegedly culminated in Epstein touring SpaceX facilities in 2012, a claim a SpaceX attorney very belatedly denied after the incident was first reported by Business Insider. Kimball Musk is also on the board of another of his brother's companies, Tesla. And prior to his 2019 arrest, Epstein confirmed claims from sources that he was privately advising Tesla in 2018 to journalist James Stewart. So we also have that Epstein was a private advisor to Tesla, one of Elon's main companies. And I mean, obviously this could be just because Kimball, Elon's brother, is on the board, and maybe that's where the advising is. Maybe it stops there, and that's that. Either way, still something to be concerned about. After Epstein was infamous, Musk denied the claims. Per Stewart, Epstein was apparently part of the attempted deal to make Tesla private with Saudi money in 2018. Epstein was also a very close advisor at that time to the then and current de facto leader Mohammed bin Salman. Since then, an Epstein associate turned venture capitalist, Nicole Junkerman, has become a significant investor in SpaceX. So it looks like they may have been trying to use Epstein's connections with the leader of Saudi Arabia, essentially. The de facto leader is what I guess they call it. I'm not exactly sure how their government apparatus works. But yes, so they were trying to make it private with Saudi money in 2018, and it looks like Epstein was helping out with that to make things happen. Since then, I think I already read that, an Epstein associate turned venture capitalist, Nicole Junkerman, has become a significant investor in SpaceX. So then we also have another Epstein associate being an investor. Now, I don't know what this associate means. Like, this could be anyone who invested in his businesses at any point in time. So I don't know to what significance that is, but worth, I guess, mentioning. So I'm just checking the chat with you guys real quick. The CIA doesn't need her to tell them what they already know. Exactly. Joey Poopbag, Alan Dulles threatened anyone who didn't believe the story about big-titted alien women from Venus. Can't remember a guy's name that meant the big-titted aliens. It's obvious. Fed. Spy op. I don't know if you're actually referring to a legit example of something that happened, but the funny thing is, that's 100% sounds like something that would happen. If you have looked into the history of the Mirage Men, the Men in Black, how information gets obfuscated in there, which actually reminds me, I had meant to, that one of you guys, one of my mutuals, had shared something from Rogan with one of his guests, which he literally kind of jokingly called the guy a Fed because he was trying to move it away from military installations and divert the conversation. I need to see if I can find that, maybe play that tomorrow, because I just thought we were talking about that yesterday, so I thought it would kind of fit, and obviously we're talking about it again a little bit here. But anyways, you can't play the game without getting dirty, says Doc Tory. Oh no, rich dudes live next to each other in Ohio. Oh my God. All these high-class hoes run the same circles and are wealthy for our tiny circle. Yes, I agree. By the way, I want to be very clear. Part of the reason why I thought this was pertinent, because I did see recently, I think it was Elon or somebody was making posts about somebody having connections or something to Elon or something. And it just made me think about him, this guy has, and I remember seeing stuff, I didn't know off the top of my head, but I remember seeing there was Epstein connections between Elon as well. So it's it seems weird that he would cast aspersions on others when it's he clearly are at once. So it's more of a hypocrisy thing, because I agree with you. A lot of these big people in these huge circles, obviously they are literally targets of Epstein. So it's to some extent, it's not entirely their fault depending on the situation, but they kind of need to be kind of upfront about it and be yes, I had these interactions with him. We were in these circles. This makes sense, blah, blah, blah. And be clear in it, because if you leave anything open, to interpretation, it's gonna look fishy. Because this dude, literally, his brother was banging one of Epstein's chicks, what Epstein was legit doing. If you read Whitney Webb's book, which I have, basically it sounds like he was essentially craking out intel chicks to grant out to, I guess grant out might be putting it way too simply, to other rich people. So they had girlfriends to take them out on dates, escorts, whatever you want to call them. And these were girls that were linked up with Epstein. So now it's obviously like he's in their circles. So you've created essentially an intelligence circle. Like you've created like, you don't even have to do anything. They can just literally let them have their nice little relationship, and just every now and then you check in with your friend. Oh, how are things going? Oh, how's Robert? What's going on in his life? Has he any new business deals? And now you're getting all this information fed to you. So it seems like that's kind of what Epstein was doing. There's a lot of other big people that were, as you said, dated the same girls he did. And he also had these like almost like girlfriends that were cranked out from these modeling agencies or art galleries or wherever. And these people would end up dating these other rich, powerful people. So it seemed to be, this was kind of like a cycle. So, but I mean, they are dumb and horny as hell. True Doc, especially the Coomers, Jag. What are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the joke. So not a joke. Sounds like a joke. Feds think people are stupid and very horny. You're talking about the big boobied alien Venus. I don't remember anything about the big booby thing or Alan Dulles specifically, but it sounds believable. All right, let's okay, where we are. Here we go. Let's keep going. In addition, Elon Musk was subpoenaed as part of the now shuttered USVI lawsuit against the bank JP Morgan for its role in facilitating Epstein's crimes, and is known to have socialized with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on several occasions prior to Epstein's 2019 arrest and death later that same year. In one such meeting brokered by LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, Musk was reported to have introduced Epstein to Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook Meta. So supposedly now we're saying that it's a was it in one such meeting brokered by LinkedIn co-founder Musk was okay. So it sounds like Musk is the one who hooked up Mark Zuckerberg with Epstein. Musk also attended the Edge Foundation's billionaire dinners, which courted top figures in Silicon Valley and operated as a de facto front for an Epstein-run influence operation for several years, including with the genesis of the billionaire dinners. Furthermore, Richard Sorkin, the CEO of Elon and Kimball Musk's first company, Zip2, joined an Israeli intelligence-linked tech company, so CEO of Elon and Kimball Musk's first company. So I don't know if that was like their joint first company together or if they've had other first companies on their own. But if it's literally their first company, I do want to make a note of that. Seems like that's how far back Elon and Kimball go. Obviously, they're brothers, but I mean like business-wise. So, because I didn't know if this was like something like where he just kind of brought his brother on later after the fact. Maybe Elon just kind of took a low-hanging fruit of a brother that doesn't really have much to do with the business. It's kind of a nepotism essentially given to, but it sounds like they've been kind of linked up from the beginning is what it sounds like. So maybe it's not so much that. Anyways, Richard Sorkin, the CEO of Elon and Kimball Musk's first company, joined an Israeli intelligence-linked tech company headed by Ghislaine Maxwell's sister Isabel Maxwell shortly after the sale of Zip2 to Compaq in 1999. In addition, Musk shares some business links to Epstein Associates, for example, a major supplier to Tesla, LS Power, and its affiliated hedge fund Luminous Management are closely linked to Jonathan Barrett, who was a managing director of LS Power and has led Luminous Management since 2011. Barrett also held several other senior roles at LS Power between 2003 and 2008. Barrett is a former protege of Jeffrey Epstein's, who started his career working at Epstein's firm, J. Epstein & Co., and also became the CFO and vice president of OSA Properties, the real estate firm run by Epstein's brother Mark and co-founded by Barrett's brother Anthony. Barrett lists his legal address for many years as being 301 66th Street East in Manhattan, an apartment complex that's majority owned by OSA that housed many of the women actively being trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, and which was frequented by Epstein's associates, including several who stayed overnight, like former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. Okay, let's try to rehash that one. Business link, for example, a major supplier, closely linked to... Okay, this one's weak. A major supplier to Tesla is closely linked to Jonathan Barrett. Okay, so, I mean, we're like 2 steps away. So I don't really like this one. This thing feels weak to me. I don't really... But it is I mean, I will grant you that the Barrett guy, this dude is fucking. Now this guy glows like a motherfucker and is clearly super clicked up with Epstein. Like that sounds like. I mean, he's at the real estate firm run by Epstein's brother, all different, a bunch of different companies from Epstein and his associates that he was involved in. So it seems like he's very tied in with the Epstein. Like that's almost undeniable. It sounds like just by these connections, it'd be hard to say otherwise. But then this guy that's super clicked up with Epstein is somehow tied to a major supplier to Tesla, which is a supplier to Tesla, so it's connected. It just seems weak. That one's weak. LS Power, where Barrett was a top executive, has been investigated for fraudulent conveyance of assets in several bankruptcy cases. In addition, LS Power's founder, Mike Siegel, whose son Paul is now the firm's CEO, did business with the Buffalino crime family. Luminous Management was also the largest shareholder in Valaris, which sold $650 million in oil rigs to Musk's SpaceX in 2020. Okay. Still seems weak. In addition, another firm closely linked to Luminous Capital Management and the Luminous Capital Partners Master Fund, counts Alex Erskine as a director. Erskine was previously director for the Jeffrey Epstein chaired financial vehicle, Liquid Funding, which is partially owned by Bear Stearns before its collapse during the 2008 financial crisis. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think much of that one. Of the first paragraph, I'll give you pretty whack. So the whole girlfriend of Epstein's brother or Elon's brother, that's pretty fishy. The rest seems too tenuous, too dubious to really give a shit. Like someone's linked up with a supplier. I'm sorry, that's too many steps away for me to really say anything damning about that. I'll finish off this. Ultimately, many of the most famous Silicon Valley billionaires, Musk, Zuckerberg, Brin/Page, Bezos, Gates, Hoffman, Thiel, etc., have ties to Epstein/Maxwell that deserve scrutiny. Business links matter because many of Epstein's crimes were financial, not merely sexual in nature. He was a big-time money launderer and currency manipulator. The Epstein network ultimately leads back to a fusion of organized crime, the Jewish mob/Italian mafia, and intelligence, mainly US/Israeli/UK, and thus close business ties to Epstein suggest close ties to that broader network, which is a bigger story in the day than Epstein himself. Silicon Valley's ties to Epstein are also very significant because blackmail is no longer about setting people up with kids. It is mostly electronic now, as I know in my book, One Nation Under Blackmail, volumes 1 and 2. Highly recommend both of them. Palantir is the new Epstein when it comes to blackmail, which Palantir is kind of the thing to be concerned about, which I don't remember if Epstein is, or how Elon is connected to Palantir, or if he is. And I believe that's mostly Thiel's thing. But all right, let's pop back in the chat, see what you guys have to say. Oops, I kept that up. Weinstein's story is very telling about how Epstein worked. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Took my morning dump during morning dump. Poopers unite. I really get the feeling that Whitney just hates wealthy people. Her work is great, but you have to read it with the understanding that she's basically a communist. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with you. I mean, I don't know exactly her political theory, but she's definitely a little bit more lefty. I would guess probably center left. So yes, I do agree. You actually probably do need to view her work with that. She does, even if with that there, while I do think there was the last paragraph or so was worthwhile information to look into, it does seem to be weak in regards to the point at hand. So it is kind of does make you wonder, why did you include that? I mean, I guess it's nice gee whiz informational stuff to have. Personally, I feel like it probably should have been kept to the one paragraph, would have kept it tighter. But it is there is almost this, she's looking, I don't know. It is yes, these types do tend to be incredibly suspicious of the capitalists, as they call them, which would be, to the greatest degree, individuals like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel. But you know what? They're not wrong. The lefties that are concerned about the high-level capitalists. I think the big issue, though, when it comes to the lefties, is they're just a little bit off. Their class theory, distorts things. They are concerned about capitalists, and so that does tend to make them worry about the big-time capitalists, the people who. And when what a lot of people with the left and right, the capitalists or socialists, a lot of times are talking past each other with, is when it comes to, what the term capitalist even means when lefties use it. They're basically meaning it to mean corporatists. But the problem is whenever you as a capitalist go, well, you say other things besides corporatists, they're also kind of referring to other things like technically just business owners in general. But really what they mean is the big bads of this are the big corporatists. So like in a certain sense, they are also like the huge corporates, the Elon Musk, the Peter Thiels, the, who's the Amazon guy? The whatever the fuck his name is. Just these big, they're incredibly, they are suspicious of them, and they see them as the bad guys. And they're not entirely wrong, because these people, like these top tier ones, they are all almost, exclusively clicked up with government, because just by their nature, like corporations are essentially like just a blending of, they're just basically what fascism is. They're basically a blending of public and private. That's all they are. Like they are a entity essentially to some extent ordained by the government. That's what corporations are. So they are given many of their perks or ability to dominate the market from the government itself. So they have things to benefit from that. So in a certain sense, they are the top tier of the bad guys. But the thing is, when they get their class theory wrong, is what I'm getting at is truly where the issue comes from is the coercion. And the thing is, like, these corporate entities can become involved in coercion, but only to the extent that they mire themselves into the coercive entity. Because, I mean, I guess in a sense, if they do actually become coercive themselves, they are just becoming a government in a roundabout way. So the issue becomes, like, for us, like, anarcho-capitalists or agorists or whatever, the issue becomes, the issue becomes the government. So the class theory becomes the government versus us. But now, if you're looking, especially if you have like an agorist type understanding of the world, you look at things like corporations as kind of like a gray. So the idea of like having a perfect class theory where you have perfect black and white isn't going to happen in the world. I'm sorry. You're going to have the white, which is going to be fully free market, entities. So like your La Tienda down the street, they don't pay no taxes, don't do nothing. They're completely in the white. They're completely, nothing about them is attached to the government whatsoever. They're even, avoiding their fucking taxes. I guess you'd actually say that's in the gray or in the black or whatever. But that's completely the white. And on the black side, you have complete government or some sort of coercive entity of some sort. And in the middle, you have the gray area, which is going to be things like corporations, which don't neatly fit in either of these categories of like the extreme coercive entity or the extreme, private entity or whatever. So that's why they do tend to, this is why we have, I think, in my opinion, these characters like Whitney Webb or Caitlin Johnstone, or I don't know, I guess Jimmy Dore, that are great. They are great because while they may be a little bit off, and they do kind of sometimes miss things because they're focused in on the wrong stuff, because they are hyper focused on capitalists versus the people, they're mostly right. So it's like this is where I can find common allies with these guys, with the Whitney Webbs of the world, is because I think she's kind of mostly right. These people are, for the most part, the Zuckerberg, the Musk, Bryn Page, Bezos, Gates, Hoffman, Thiel. To some extent, I know like everyone wants to suck off. Elon is all great about how he's going to fucking supposedly cut things and stuff. I think in a lot of ways he is kind of the government. I mean, I guess I'd have to like evaluate all his different businesses and how they're interacting with, but especially somebody like Thiel, with the stuff he's doing, interacting with like, his tech is being used over in Israel to literally murder people. I mean, I don't know. He's kind of one of the baddies. I know we want to like, everyone wants to look at him as like, oh, he's this like, anarcho-capitalist fucking, like John Galt or something. It's like, no, he is like he's the bad guy. Like this is like, even by a libertarian perspective, like you should be able to see through this and be like, this guy is involved in coercion in league with the coercive entity that is the state. He is the state. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like he is, I mean, unless he has some sort of crazy change of heart is like, I was wrong, but like he is literally working in tandem with these groups. So I don't know. I can't find myself going, oh, this is the guy that's going to save us. But all right, let's she names a lot of the names, but had a huge blind spot on shitcoin. I don't know anything about her when it comes to coin. Whitney took years of Dawson's Epstein work and made her own, made a career off his research. That's what Dawson says. I don't fucking know if that's true or not. I don't really care, to be completely honest, at all. IP is gay, and honestly, I think it's probably a little bit of both. If I had to guess, I would think that or it might even be a case where like they were doing similar research in parallel minds. They found similar things, or maybe she did. I don't fucking care. I don't really give a shit to get involved in that silly drama. Dawson has also like kind of burned every bridge that ever existed to anyone who ever even tried to make a bridge with him whatsoever. So far be it for me to give a flying fuck to try to like figure out who wronged who in that situation. She could have completely ripped him off, but like he's used up whatever goodwill he has for anyone to give two flying fucks about that whatsoever. All right, what do we want? I'm trying to think of what else I want to finish off with this. Let me see. Let's do one more thing. I'm trying to debate in my head what I want it to be. Well, here's a fun little one. Let's just do this right here. All right, this will just be a fun little thing to take us out on. It says, this is from my buddy Jolyon Klebold, patron of the show. Imagine watching HGTV and your son comes in and tells you that guy blew up the Alfred P. Murrah building. All right, right here, you see this photo? This is Kevin McCarthy. This is literally one of the Aryan Republican Army, one of the members of it. This is one of the guys, and I've talked about this on the show, that many people, myself included, think helped out Timothy McVeigh in perpetrating the Oklahoma City bombing. And this guy somehow managed to get rehabilitated on HGTV much later. I mean, once off top, just to throw it out there, just so you guys know, I can't really recall McCarthy's story off the top of my head. I don't know exactly how it went down for him. I'm around like page 200-ish of Ham's book where he goes into all this. So I don't know how McCarthy's tail end. Obviously, we know he got out at some point because we hear he is on HGTV. But I just found it super funny. I put here, because he shared that, I go, wait, for real? He actually ended up on an HGTV show, or just someone who looks similar with his name? And then Richard comes along and says, not only did he end up on an HGTV show, but before that, Facebook/Instagram filmed the commercial for his business. They made him a featured success story. LOL, woke-ass Meta paid for a commercial for a Nazi bank robber. Being friends with the FBI has its business perks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, I want to say he worked with the FBI or something. I don't recall exactly. So it is kind of like, it looked like he may have gotten hooked up and gotten on an HGTV show to kind of boost his business, and also landed a Facebook, Instagram thing. But it's just funny because it's like this guy literally was, even if you don't buy the ties to the Oklahoma City bombing, he's literally a Nazi bank robber. Like, that's 100% confirmed. This is why you see him with long sleeves on in all of these. Because yeah, dude had like fucking Nazi tattoos and shit. So like that's why he's wearing long sleeves. So it's wild that like literally the government, it looks like the government at least, kind of hooked this guy up, made a few connections for him, helped him out on his way out after he seems like probably ratted out all his boys. And also likely was involved in the Oklahoma City bombing. I'm assuming some of this hookup probably was somewhat contingent on whether it was said or not, or just kind of like it's weird these FBI people are never going to look into this stuff and just let this go. To some extent he might just know, maybe I should just shut the fuck up. It almost kind of comes with, hey, maybe you should shut the fuck up and not say anything about what happened on April 19th. I wouldn't be least surprised if that plays into it. But let's watch this. I just thought it was funny that this is how this does work out sometimes. Is you can kill 170 people around like a couple dozen children, and the government will likely fucking hook you up with an HGTV appearance and a Facebook, Instagram fucking commercial to boost your business. But let's watch this.
I'm not really a big social media kind of person, but I noticed a lot more inquiries coming from Instagram to my business. I've been a carpenter my whole life, since I was a teenager. Lots of people do what I do. I guess what makes it unique is me. I design everything myself. Typically, in a larger business, you have a team. I have to do all that. Using Instagram, it's really easy to communicate with your clients. They can message you very easily. With Instagram, I'm able to reach the exact people that I want to reach. When I promote a post, I immediately notice more likes, more follows. It always translates into new work for me. Success is a finished project, and I've had a lot of them through Instagram.
All right, there you go, guys. That's an Aryan Republican Army, a legit neo-Nazi robber again, hooked the fuck up by Facebook/Instagram for his local, cabinetry business or whatever the fuck. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's probably gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today. Let's roll through your chat. Roll through the chat real quick. See what you guys have to say. Stealing research is so gay. The information exists. If someone else finds it too, it doesn't mean they stole it. Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm like, sure, to some extent, it's like, I guess, was this like information you kept quiet? I know very often in the research world, it's like, this will be information that like you either kept quiet and then somehow you told someone else and then it gets out. And then that is kind of in a sense stealing, because there's like, if anything, that's just more you just being a shitty person because you were trusted to secrecy and you just said fuck that and just did whatever you're going to do anyways. Yeah, you kind of suck for that. But on the other hand, it's also like there might be someone that's like put out information out there and it's kind of like somewhat exclusive to them. It originated from them. And then this person takes that information and builds off that, which that's kind of what everyone does though. I guess you should try to credit people, but to some extent you get to a ridiculous, because if something that's easily creditable, like, oh, this specific thing, but shit, like pretty much everything I cover when I come say, for example, Oklahoma City bombing is all shit someone else found that I'm now covering. And half the time I don't even know the proper person to credit to because it's just kind of, this is just information that's out there now and that's the end of it. But, I don't know. Anyways, not gonna go on about that. What are they setting this guy up for next? I have no idea. Everyone is, wow, this ARI guy is down to earth and relatable. He actually really is. Actually probably seems like he'd probably be a cool guy. Yeah, this guy had a little bit of a wild pass, it sure seems like. But all right, guys, that's the end of today. Let's go ahead and get on out of here. It was nice hanging with you guys. I'm going to be here, it looks like I'm going to be doing at least through Thursday, maybe even Friday as well. So I just want to remind you guys, if you want to contribute to what content is covered in the show, you can do that on social media, preferably Twitter. Tag me at @TowerGangJose. If it's something you think would be fitting for the show, I almost always, most of the time you guys tag me. Hell, even like DMs, you're like, oh, this one story, sometimes I'll look up an article to find something for it, like that 2016 thing we covered in South Korea. That was one of you guys that just DM'd me. So just stuff like that. If there's stuff that you feel like we should cover, let me know. Or there's also the Tower Gang Telegram if you're one of the supporters over there. If you're one of my supporters and you want to get into the Tower Gang Telegram, let me know, because there is a tab in there for the morning dump. So people do put stuff in there for stuff to cover. So if that's something something that sounds good to you, it's available. Hit me up. If you want to support my work, patreon.com, just NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you the early access to episodes, like my Jonathan Franklin episode that'll be dropping on Friday. I also, as I'm recording on Thursday with Chicken Broth to talk all things satanic neo-Nazi feds. So that will be behind the paywall for a week. So if you want to get early access to that, Patreon. Also, you can be a talking head on Already Dead with me and Austin, which, by the way, totally forgot to mention this to you guys, but we did get booked. We're booked for Tinfoil Hat. So me and Austin, that Tuesday show I'm talking about, which is actually today's Tuesday. So tonight at 9:30, me and Austin will be doing another Already Dead. So be sure to pop in for that one. But at the $2 level, that gives you allows you to be a talking head for the call-in portion of the show. You can do a video call-in. If you're a patron of me or Austin. But yeah, as I said, we just got booked on Tinfoil Hat, so we'll be on there in a couple months. But yeah, the highest level is my sponsors. I read them off every episode. My co-host on Tower Gang, at Tower Gang Dode, at Abrogate D's, at ZOVERCK, at _Infantil, Jacob Daniel of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast, Tim Tuttle, you can follow him at Jolly on Klebold, then Will Bell, his delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine. Big fan of the show, at Real Josh Elliott, Torrin May as well, and then a new one at INWARD Lover, at Inward Lover, because we all should learn to look inwards and learn to love ourselves and all be inward lovers. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Leave 5-star reviews on Spotify or iTunes, please, please, please. That really helps your brother out. Like this. If you're on YouTube or Rumble, please make sure to like it. It takes super quick step for you. Hooks me up big time. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Love y'all. Deuces.